Welcome to Lakeland, Florida. It is one of the fastest growing cities in the state and is located approximately halfway between Tampa and Orlando. The city is populated by 97,422 people. 43.5%, a large margin, of the households are married couples and families living together. The city has earned the title City of Swans due to the many lakes providing homes for the beautiful birds for over 80 years. In 1954, the swans faced eradication because of predators like alligators. With donations of swans from many places, including 2 royal swans from Queen Elizabeth II in England, the swan population has increased to over 200. There are over 38 lakes in the city, which have become such a prominent part of the Lakeland life that people have taken to using lakes as points of reference, like streets would be used in other cities. The Southgate Shopping Center is another of Lakeland's claim to fame. The plaza was featured in the movie Edward Scissorhands. In fact, many of the surrounding cities were used to create the feel of family suburbia that permeates the whole film. The city itself highlights the family-centered atmosphere by maintaining 60 parks and facilities that include gardens, playgrounds, and walking or jogging paths. There are 7 districts in the area that are part of the National Historic Registry. The most famous of these is Lake Morton District, which is home to the Florida Southern College collection of buildings known as Child of the Sun. This is the largest single-site collection of Frank Lloyd Wright buildings anywhere. The Lake Munn Historic District is home to 48 historic buildings and a historic statue in the middle of the park. This is where we focus our documentary. As a class, we took on the task of finding graffiti in Lakeland. In an inspection of a 21-block area of downtown Lakeland, we found mostly tags. Tags are quick claims of private property by writers, generally with initials or nicknames. Also known as bombing, this has become a game for writers. Those who can find the most odd or hard-to-reach places get the most fame. Finding graffiti is not the most simple of tasks. Learning how to look for it is part of the game.
Most people would not see this, but if you look closely, there's graffiti in the top left corner of the box.
The tag on this box is slightly more obvious. We found this on the back of a building.
We found Grin in a back alley up a flight of stairs on an old door.
Once we learned how to look for graffiti, we found it everywhere.
We found them on walls.
On air conditioning units, some up high and some down low.
We found many on electrical boxes, some hidden and some obvious.
We found graffiti on doors.
On drainage pipes.
Even on steps.
More walls.
Hard to reach places.
And even stencils and etchings.
There are no boundaries for where you can find graffiti. We even found it on plants. As part of our research for this project, we interviewed multiple business owners, locals, and law enforcement. Some of the questions we asked were, how often do you encounter graffiti, and what do you think graffiti is? How often do you encounter graffiti on your property?
This is the 3rd time in 3 years.
Yeah. Do you notice graffiti downtown at all?
A lot of people tag stuff.
So how often do you notice graffiti in Lakeland?
Quite a bit.
How often do you notice graffiti in Lakeland?
Almost every time I'm here, which is about 3 times a week.
So what do you think is graffiti, basically? Do you think it has to be illegal, or do you think it doesn't necessarily
Well, it
have to be?
depends. Like, the kind of scribbles that are just randomly on the wall, like, I don't particularly, like...
See it as graffiti?
Yeah, I don't see it as... Like, graffiti to me is more like art, like street art, like Bansky, if you've heard of that. Like, I appreciate that. But, like, the stupid stuff that just, like, little teenage kids do, I don't know. Like.
So how would you define graffiti? Do you think it has to be illegal, or do you think it doesn't necessarily have to be illegal?
I think it has to be illegal. I think you're destroying property. I mean, you're harming somebody else's stuff, you know?
In conducting our interviews, we encountered people who thought graffiti was gang-related and others who did not, including law enforcement.
What group of people do you feel is most responsible for graffiti in your area?
Gangs of them. Like, over by my house, I got like a lot of like 13s everywhere, you know?
Really? So you would say it's mostly gang-related then?
Yeah.
What group of people do you feel is most responsible for graffiti in this area?
You know, the police tell us that it's a lot of gangs, but I don't see that. I think it's just, and I don't necessarily think it's high school kids. I think it's kids that are out of high school.
I don't think about gangs when I think about graffiti. I think about guys that are tagging. They have this great artistic gift without a way to display it. And I think most people, with a lot of stuff that I've seen, I think that most people who had buildings would probably give them permission to do their building if they stopped and asked. I believe that.
Do you think that most of the graffiti in Lakeland is from gangs, or do you think it's a lot of teenage kids, like, just...
It depends on, I can tell you right now, it depends on the era. I can tell you that 10 years ago, most of the graffiti that was up was gang graffiti. All these pictures you got here, this is all tagger graffiti. None of this is gang related. The same kind of people that do train cars, okay? These are urban artists. See, taggers still have the tradition of being on walls and being on train cars and being on physical buildings.
The most surprising information we obtained was how much business owners and the federal government spend annually in covering up graffiti.
How much money do you spend annually removing it?
Well, I'd say about $100 or so, you know.
How much money do you spend annually removing it?
Probably $10, $15.
Last year, the United States spent $2 billion, yes, with a B, in tax dollars painting over graffiti.
In the end, we discovered whether you view graffiti as art or vandalism, there will always be artists creating it and someone trying to cover it up.